Good morning, mamas. I'm Tiffany Teal. And if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but still not seeing results, then this message is for you. Do me a favor, drop your name and where you're from in the chat if you're just now tuning in so that I know who's tuning in and where you're from. I'd love to connect with you that way. You know, sometimes it looks like nothing is happening, but God is still writing your story. And so I want to talk about that with you today because sometimes we just feel stuck and we have to remember to go back and give those fears to Him so that our faith bridges the gap over to freedom. Does that make sense? So if you've ever been stuck wondering, Lord, when is it my turn? Today, we are talking about what it means to trust God even when your results don't reflect your effort. Okay? If that's a topic that you're excited about, will you do me a favor and quick invite some friends over to join us? This is not my normal live time. I normally am on at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, but once a month, I have another meeting that conflicts, and so I'm showing up in the evenings instead. Once a month, we've got time to jump on together in the evenings. So if you're here, drop your name and where you're from in the chat so that I know where you're tuning in from. Okay? So listen, before we dive in, let me know where your community is. Which platform do you spend most of your time on? Drop a 1 if it's TikTok, drop a 2 if it's YouTube. Okay, so if you have a business, drop a 1 and drop a 2 if you're just now getting started and you're praying for clarity so that I know where we're going, because I want this message to hit home. All right, so let me know you're here for it. So today we're going to talk about the frustration of unseen progress. Let's be real. Faith doesn't always look like fruit. Just because it's quiet, though, does not mean it's not growing. Right? Our fruit grows in the quiet sometimes. And sometimes God hides what He's building so He can prepare our hearts before He releases the harvest. So are you prepared for the harvest He has for you? Are you ready for it in a way that you are claiming it as your own? Have you been obedient to what He's already given you and what He's called you to? Because obedience comes before the overflow. God sometimes measures our faithfulness, not your following. Okay, so when we show up here in these spaces, it's real easy to focus on followers or whether our videos have gone viral. Do you feel me? But it's more important to stay focused on obedience and sharing the message that we've been called to give, right? Frustration is often the enemy's attempt to distract us from what's already working beneath the surface. So drop a 1 in the chat if you have been here working and that those results just aren't what you expected them to be yet. Or drop a 2 in the chat if you're just getting started and you don't even know what you're expecting. Well, if faith over frustration hits home for you, drop faith over frustration in the chat. Okay, how many of you felt like you were doing everything you could, but it still wasn't good enough? Will you raise your hand if that's you? I just want to remind you that faith doesn't skip the process. It just gives you peace in the middle of it. So if you're still in a waiting season, but still showing up, say, I'm still here. Drop an I'm still here in the chat. Let's talk about choosing obedience over outcome. This is where so many of us as faith-driven entrepreneurs get stuck. We measure success by what we see instead of by what God is doing. So if you stepped into what you're currently doing because of the purpose God placed on your life, and you know that's why you're here, drop a 1 in the chat. And if you've never heard of God's purpose or discovering your purpose, drop a 2 in the chat if that's a new topic for you. Friends, I just want to share how moving from burnout, no mom, into freedom finding yes mom feels and what that looks like in a season of faith over results. Okay. This is where so many of us get stuck, right? We're talking about faith doesn't always look like fruit, right? So we're going to talk about 3 different areas for how our obedience is something that we should choose instead of outcome. And by staying focused on our obedience instead of the outcome, we can continue to show up with consistency. So, as I mentioned, number 1, faith doesn't always look like fruit. What does that mean though? Fruit takes time, but growth starts underground, right? And those roots need to spread just as far and wide and deep as the height above the ground. So sometimes it takes longer to grow under the surface than it does above the surface. So if God's pruning, it's because he's preparing you to carry more. The second area is obedience comes before the overflow. Have you figured that out yet? Is that something that like you've already felt? What do I mean by that? I mean that every act of obedience positions you closer to promise. So keep sowing even when the soil looks dry. Let's put that in everyday terms. You show up on your platform every day and you serve and you share the message, or you tell people about the business that you're running and you don't have anybody comment on your post, or you don't have any DMs to follow up on. Do you show up again or do you quit? Obedience comes before overflow. So I encourage you to just continue to show up, right? That obedience looks a lot like consistency. And we have to focus on what we're capable of controlling versus the things that we can't control. So if you get up in the morning, can you control how many views you're going to have today, or how many comments you're going to get, or how many DMs you're going to receive? Those are all uncontrollables. What can you control? You can control how you show up, how often you show up, and what message you send. So let's be obedient so that we can reap those benefits of overflow when the time comes. The third area is that we need to trust the unseen. That's where faith comes in, right? So when results don't reflect our effort, I want you to remember that God is building your roots, not just your reach. So an example of that is that as we continue to show up in consistency, we get better with our message, right? So we get more comfortable. We receive more courage, right? These are deep roots. This is building our roots before the number of followers grows, right? Because we have to be prepared to follow through on that message once the followers are there. So it's really just in the preparation right there. So I want you to just remember to trust the unseen, trust the process. As you show up and want to grow, just trust what's happening on the inside of you before freaking out and quitting. Don't quit yourself, okay? You got to show up for yourself. And if you can't show up for yourself, find the reason why you do need to show up every day. So if one of these points spoke to you, 1, 2, or 3, will you tell me in the chat? Drop a little flower in the chat if you want to keep sowing in faith this week. I hope this message is encouraging you. Before we move in to the next season of the call, I want to talk about faith before frustration, okay? Because sometimes when we're waiting for results, we can become tired and get into that mindset of wondering, when is it going to be our turn? We end up in a position where we just continue to watch everyone else go before us. So when is it going to be my turn, God? Well, I want to show you a way to build from faith instead of frustration, okay? Because there are just systems, automations, tools that we can use that will help us improve upon and stay focused on our faith that our time is coming and that we are doing what we've been called to do. And so for me, I've been using this blueprint. It's called the Freedom Formula Blueprint. Some people know it better as the 2-hour workday blueprint. And it teaches you to complete tasks, these income earning tasks, right? Each day within a 2-hour window. And by doing that, it frees up the rest of our time because there's systems and automations working in the background to make our business work for us. So this free blueprint is available. I'd love to share it with you. If you'll drop called in the chat, I'm going to send that over because it's the same system that's helping me and other faith-driven moms build that income with purpose and peace. And I can just tell you that the reason I snatched this up and started following this formula is because I was sick and tired of looking at the bank account before going to the grocery store. Or at the end of the month when my bills were due, I got sick and tired of stressing out about it, right? And I made the decision that I am going to change the course of my family's future. We're going to seek freedom from those things. So, because I believe God has called us to live in abundance. But when we diminish our worth, should He give us more? When we don't steward what we have well, should He give us more? If you know another mama who's struggling to see results, will you share this live with her? We're talking today about what it feels like when nothing's working, yet we know God is still working. Can you just share this with another friend or mama that needs to be reminded that when she doesn't feel like it's her turn, we have to turn back to God and we have to remember what His promises are. Because our efforts and results don't always match, right? So today we've talked about so far the frustration in that unseen progress and what it means to choose obedience over outcome. We talked about 3 different points. The first is that faith doesn't always look like fruit. What do I mean by that? Fruit takes time, but growth starts underground, right? So if God is pruning us, it's because He's preparing us to carry more. Do you believe that today? Drop a 1 in the chat if you believe that. Do you believe that God's preparing you to carry more than you could have ever imagined? I want to believe that God's prepared me to carry more, to affect more lives than I could ever imagine. I know there's other mamas out there who need to release the lack mindset, to release the money mindset that has been holding them back in bondage from a financial standpoint. And we need to put our eyes back on God and pull the truth out of his word so that we can focus on changing that mindset over to an abundance mindset. So if with your permission, excuse the stutter, but with your permission, I'd like to go ahead and talk about what I'm learning in the Legacy Builders program, which is the program that's teaching me about these systems and automations. Do I have your permission to do that? Drop a 1 or a 1 in the chat. All right. So what is the Legacy Builders program? It's an interactive coaching mentorship program, right? It's teaching me how to show up online on a regular basis, how to perfect my message, and how to make sure that I'm delivering it to the people that I'm called to serve. Who am I called to serve? Well, I can tell you who I'm called to serve. I can't tell you who you're called to serve. But I'm called to serve that mama who has lived in a financial bondage, the mama who is tired of checking her bank account before she hits the grocery store, the mama who's tired of wondering where the funds are going to come from before she can pay her child's tuition, the no mom who's ready to be a yes mom. She's ready to tell her child, yes, we can do that field trip. Yes, we can go check out that new park. Yes, we can go to Six Flags this summer. Whatever the requests are, I want to be able to say yes. I don't want to have to look at the bank account first and then determine what the answer is, right? And that's just because our time with our children is limited. And I want to build memories that my kiddo's never going to forget, right? Do you want that for your family too? Drop a 1 or a 1 in the chat if that's something that you dream about as well. So inside the Legacy Builders program, we don't just have pre-recorded videos. We have live training weekly with our mentor. And then we have breakout rooms, which means that we break out into small groups and we get to really grow together. So that community is super valuable because that's where our encouragement comes from. That's where growth happens because we can learn from each other. So the moms who have already learned this program, used it, and are successfully changing their families' lives, they show up and mentor us as well. So we're not just showing up to learn something new from one mentor who's done it all really well. We're showing up and being mentored by a group, a very large group of people who are all learning together and learning from the ones who are doing it successfully and doing a really good job at it. So let's talk about what affiliate marketing versus master resale rights looks like. Okay. So to do this, you don't have to jump straight into affiliate marketing. So an affiliate marketing would be like if you've had a favorite toothpaste and you talked about it and then you put it in your TikTok shop and you earned a small commission for the other people who ordered it because you talked about it, right? So let's just say for kicks and giggles that you were paid 25% commission on a $10 tube of toothpaste. So if you sold one, that would be $250, right? So I'm going to do some math here. Uh-oh, I lost my screen. Hold on, because this platform over here may have lost me. Okay, sorry about that. So if you are, let me do that math real quick. So all right. Oh, goodness. Woo, you're not going to like these numbers. If you're here listening, let's talk about this. Or my best-selling product pays me 100% commission, and that commission is $900. It's a $900 program. All right. So to sell one product, it pays for itself. And then on the second product that I sell, I'm in profit mode, right? At $900 profit, because I make 100% profit. It's not a commission. It's a business that I own. And so I earn full profits, right? Now, how many toothpaste would I have to sell to make that same $900? If I'm selling a $10 tube of toothpaste, I earn 25% commission. That's $250 per tube. It would take me 360 tubes of toothpaste to make $900. So almost a full year at one tube of toothpaste a day, right? Okay, well, seems a little bit smarter and less difficult to sell one program for $900 at 100% profit than it would be to sell 360 tubes of toothpaste at $250 a pop to make the same $900. Which one would you choose? One or two? A tube of toothpaste for $250 a pop, or a program at $950 a pop? Not $950, $900 a pop. One or two? Drop it in the chat. Okay, so that's what we're doing. So that's called master resale rights. And then the question that I've heard before that I wondered myself was, why would I sell a program that I didn't create? It's a question frankly, I sat on for about 10 months because I was already building my own program. And so it didn't make a whole lot of sense for me to sell someone else's program if I had my own, right? Wrong. Because I still had to learn the skills that it takes to market my program. But in the meantime, I can still help other moms learn and earn simultaneously. So I can earn off this program that is going to help other moms do the same thing. And these moms were already my ideal customer. They were already the people that I was helping. They're already the people that my program works for, but this puts them in profit mode quickly. So why wouldn't I help them do that if that is what I've been called to do? Well, there you have it. I mean, you nailed it when you said, I don't know. I just held myself back, y'all, and wasted 10 months. So now that I'm in the program, I'm learning so many things that I didn't already know. I'm understanding how much fun it can be to show up on a platform such as TikTok or YouTube, and how many things I didn't already know. So if you have specific questions about Legacy Builders or our digital growth community, either one, drop those questions in the chat because I'm here to answer those questions for you. What kind of questions do you have tonight? Remember, I'm normally on at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and tonight I'm on in the evening, which is very rare. I only have one Monday a month that really puts me in a position where I cannot do a live call during the morning. So here I am in the evening. And if this is your first time on with me, then let me answer the questions. Let's take advantage of this. I've got about 5 minutes left before I'm going to have to go. I've got a fresh sourdough loaf that I'm fixing to put in the oven to go with our beef stew that my husband made. But I want to spend these next 5 minutes answering your questions. Okay. Today we talked about what it feels like when nothing's working and the fact that we know God's still moving. So when it feels like nothing's working, how are we being obedient? How are we being obedient? And what steps are we taking to make that call on our life purposeful? Okay, let's talk about an example. While I wait on your questions to come in, let's talk about a couple examples. For example, you've heard about the legacy builders before. Have you given anybody your email address and downloaded that free blueprint, the Freedom Formula blueprint? Have you downloaded it yet? How many times have you heard about it without downloading it? Is it on your mind? Is it something that you've thought about? For me, I downloaded it now almost a year ago, but 10 months before I ever used it. And guess what? I thought about it almost every day. I mean, now looking back, such heavy regret that I didn't just jump on it when I learned about it the first time. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about when I say, are you being obedient? Here's an analogy that I heard this morning. I heard this: God feeds the birds. Does that make sense? God feeds the birds, right? But does God take that bird, show it the worm, and stuff that worm in its mouth? No, the worm actually has to do a little bit of work too. The worm, the bird has to do a little bit of work too. Am I right? So if the birds have to work for their food, who are we to think that it's going to be handed to us and that we don't have to work for it? Let's go, people. Mama, if you want to change your life and you want to change your circumstances for your family, it's time to show up and dive in and be obedient. Okay? All right. Before we go and before we wrap up, I just want you to remember something. Unless you're going to drop some questions in the chat for me, I just want to remind you that obedience is never wasted. God is going to reward your faithfulness, even in the unseen. So remember that fruit grows above ground, but what grows below ground? Right? What grows below the ground? Our roots. And do our roots need to be as deep and wide as our reach above the ground? Drop a 1 or a 1 in the chat if this hit home today. And I'm going to pray for us before we go. If today reminded you that small steps still matter, will you just drop a heart, drop some hearts, pound it out with those hearts for me? Or drop a heart in the chat. If you're watching the replay, be sure that you let me know where you are tuning in from. Over here, I've dropped a QR code on the screen for you right here. Scan that code if you'd like a copy of that blueprint, and it's going to take you directly over there. All you'll have to do is drop your email address. I'll send the blueprint straight into your inbox, and then you can say that you finally started. That's the first step. And over here, if the blueprint is something that you want, also just drop the word called so that I can send that to you. Drop the word called if you want a copy of the Freedom Formula Blueprint that is teaching me how to get online, how to market my products, and in the meantime, giving me a product to market at 100% profit. I'm so sorry. Oh, Jen, I'm going to have to call you back, okay? Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. Didn't even know that I could get a phone call while I was doing this. So let's make sure we mute that. Okay, we're almost done here anyways, but if you want the Freedom Formula Blueprint, drop called in the chat so that I can send that over to you. It's free. It's the first step in obedience. If you know that you're called for more, if you're tired of taking a calculator to the grocery store, you're tired of having to freaking, my son's listening and he heard the word freaking. I'm not supposed to use that word. I'm sorry. If you are tired, friend, of having to check your bank account before you pay your bills, before you pay your kids' tuition, before you go to the grocery store, drop called in the chat. The first step for freedom is learning how to change your circumstances. Okay? Let's pray before we go. Lord, thank you for the reminder that unseen doesn't mean unfruitful. Strengthen every mama here to keep trusting you, even when it's quiet. Remind her that you are working all things together for her good. In your name we pray. Amen. All right. Thanks for being here with me today, and follow along for more God talk, mom talk, and freedom talk. Okay? Love you guys.